by worshipping, by getting together, or doing something, holy things, praising God, or praising gods and goddesses. Gods and goddesses are the powers of the divine. We, Hindu, believe everything is God. Everything that is shining and is reflected in the eyes is God. Sun is God, moon is God, stars are gods, everything. Because Hindus believe in 3 ways of looking up in the world. 3 ways. One is called Adi Bhautik, material way of looking up in the world. And Adi Daivik, I should say holistic outlook. The last one is spiritual. Now if you want to give me an example, I tell you. Like fire, there is a fire. And looking upon it from material point of view is Adi Bhautik. It is called Adi Bhautik outlook. Material. What is that? That fire helps us cooking, fire helps us constructing building, fire helps us this way, that way, giving some warmth, all sorts of things. But then again, if you start reflecting that how this fire is hiding in the wood, hiding in everything, and how it comes out, how it starts blazing, there must be some divine force working behind it. Without a divine force, without a regulation, beautiful regulation, the fire cannot be there. Then it becomes little higher. Then your material outlook. When you start reflecting that, and Hindu says it is a God, it is a divine force, it is connected with the creation, vast creation. So it is one. That is called Adidevi outlook. And then when you think that, well, the whole universe has come from fire. Whatever you see comes from fire. And it is maintained by fire. Your food is fire, your water is fire, everything is fire, energy. And finally, the world will merge into fire. It will go back to the energy. Then it becomes spiritual. So everything can be finally identified with the divine. That is one interesting thing in Hindu theism, polytheism. Like if you worship Saraswati for your learning, then finally you say, oh Saraswati, you are the divine force. You are the supreme consciousness. You are the creator. You are the maintainer. You are the destroyer. You are the universal consciousness. Then your worship is complete. If you worship Lakshmi for your wealth, then you chant mantras for Lakshmi, worship Lakshmi, and finally say, Lakshmi, oh goddess, you are the divine consciousness. You are the supreme. You are identified with it. That means one supreme consciousness is manifested in different astral forces, celestial forces, and material forces. That's why in Upanishad, the first verse of the Upanishad says, Isha Vastam Vidam Sarvam. Cover the world with the idea of God, supreme consciousness. Without consciousness, nothing can exist. Isha Vastam Vidam Sarvam. Jatkincha Jagatvam Jagat. Not that the bigger animals, or not that the human beings, but the Jatkincha Jagatvam Jagat. Even the smallest being that is moving on the earth is consciousness. Jatkincha means very little, even if the smallest, which is moving on earth. Jagattam Jagat. Jagat means world, and Jagat means move. That what moves is Jagat, world. So, any smallest element that is moving on the earth, cover it with God. That is the way to cover it. Protect yourself. Your soul is always in tension. Always some sort of proclivities, some sort of tendencies, some sort of things that are always distracting you. If you do that, your mind will be protected. And don't be greedy. Don't be greedy in wealth. Don't covet wealth. Don't covet wealth. If you are too much attached to wealth and covet wealth, you may earn. You may have some thing, but you should not covet or you should not be attached to it. Attachment is a different thing. Having is a different thing. Some people may have very little thing, too much attached. Some person has giant amount of things, but not attached. So it says, don't be attached. Don't covet. Then only it is possible for you to think that everything is covered with God. Otherwise, if you are too much attached to the world, money, and all the time thinking of money, your heart is impure, and you can never think that everything is God. So, these are the yogas, and there are further yogas. One yoga is called Abhava Yoga. Abhava Yoga means even if you don't believe in God or anything, any superpower or anything, you just sit quiet and try to empty your mind. No thoughts. When you try to empty your mind, that's called Abhava Yoga. And when you fill up your mind with the Supreme Consciousness, you think that everything is consciousness. There is one entity in the world. Eka Brahma Dityanasti. There is no two but one. Totality. Like any part of the body you touch, it becomes the total. Like if your name is Jesse, your name is Jesse. Jaffrey. So if I touch your knee, I touch Jaffrey. I don't have to touch you from head to foot. If you take bath in any place of the Ganga, then you bath in the Ganga. You don't have to take bath from the Gangotri to Ganga Sagar. So this, when you fill up your consciousness with God, that is called Mahayoga. It's called Mahayoga, great yoga, Mahayoga. Then there is Mantra Yoga. You chant mantra constantly, this is Mantra Yoga. Then I told you there is Tantra Yoga. Tantra is also one of the faculties, and Tantra has many, many kriyas. Tantra is no philosophy, but Tantra is practical process. You know? Now I'll give you a little understanding about, are you interested? Should I continue or? Are you interested?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
Not feeling sleepy? No. Not so much. Okay. There are two things, like karma and agar, I told you about karma yoga. Karma and kriya. These two things are there. Karma means any expression is karma. Any expression is karma. You see, it is karma. You touch, it is karma. You eat, it is karma. You walk, it is karma. Even you are thinking, it is karma. So karma means any expression of senses, of mind, of intelligence from a human being, from any animal. Not from animal, but mostly from human beings. Because animals' karma, reaction is not clear, perfect, because it is controlled by instinct, nature, you know. But human beings has freedom. So human being has the good reaction, bad reaction. So karma. And kriya means particular action which does not give you any material benefit. Like you have eaten food, you are hungry, you are eaten food, your hunger is appeased, and that is the material benefit. And if you eat just for eating, it is no yoga. But if you say that, oh, it is offered to God with grace, and you eat, that becomes a yoga, bhakti yoga. You can offer every word to God. But then again, kriya means there are certain pujas, there are certain performances, there are certain celebrations, there are certain mantras, then that is particularly meant for spiritual development. That is kriya. For instance, if you say pranayama, it is a kriya. Because pranayama doesn't give you material anything. Of course, health is becoming good. But it is mainly for concentration. So pranayama is a kriya. Japam is a kriya. Worship is a kriya. Asana is a kriya. Mudra is a kriya. Understand my point? But eating, playing, walking is not kriya. That is your necessity, mundane necessity, fulfilling mundane necessity. So these kriyas are there, at least 100,000. And anybody practices some of these would be good. So yoga, tantra, different. So these are the things. And there are Vedas are 4 Vedas are there. Rig Veda, Rig, Sam, Atharva, Yayu. 4 Vedas are there. And Rig Veda is the oldest of literature of the world. It is the oldest literature of the world. And it has science, it has everything. It has social system, it has science, and it has many, many things in the Vedas, particularly different phenomenon, you know, in the phenomenal elements. They are also theologized, and the prayers. So they say Vedas has almost everything in the world. And a lot of modern science ideas are also found in Vedas, like conservation of mass, conservation of energy. And we say conservation of mass, conservation of energy, but then again, the Vedas says conservation of thinking, conservation of soul, conservation of mind. Nothing is destroyed. Whatever you might have done in this world, all kept in the potential form, and that again forces you to take another body, like a bulb fused, and then the electricity is there. You can add another. So that way the body is like a bulb. You know, it goes and then another comes. It goes and another comes. Unless and until your karma is finished. When karma is finished, and how do you know your karma is finished? The moment you see it, even in this life, your karma is now slowly wiped out. Many, many bad karmas are wiped out, good karmas are also all destroyed. By that, whenever you sit, you find your concentration easy. Your channels are all open. So when your channel is open, and your concentration is very good, and from the bottom of your spine comes up the energy and goes to the brain, and you can focus completely universal consciousness, the whole space opens up in you, you know that your karma is done. And if you sit and it's not concentrated, then say a lot of karma is there in the channel. It has to be wiped out, cleared out, by doing good work, by doing yogic work, you know, all these things. Do you have any questions?
Do you consider yourself to have reached the final state or stage of being, where like your channel is clear, I guess?
you have come down suddenly to my personal thing. The person. Don't attack person. Huh? I am sure that I have become much better. Like if you cannot, you can discover, you can produce a model of aeroplane or a jet or a Sputnik, however big, but you cannot cross this space. Can you cross this space? Can you cross this space, I ask you?
No.
You can never. So, if the space cannot be crossed, you cannot cross the consciousness. With consciousness is much bigger. You can be identified with that. A salt, a doll of salt, as Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, a doll of salt goes to measure the ocean, how big it is, and goes into it and melts. That's all. If you are melted, you know that you have come. That's all. Some people live near the ocean but cannot swim. But some people cross the English Channel. But nobody crossed the ocean by swimming. Nobody crossed the ocean by swimming. You can, maybe 100 meters you can swim, but you cannot cross the ocean. You are a good swimmer. Already you are a good swimmer. You are perfect in swimming if you have gone 100 meters, 200 meters. But you cannot cross the ocean. If you have to measure this bed, you have to have a bigger scale than this. If you have a smaller scale, you have to, twice or thrice you have to make it bigger than the bed. So nobody can be bigger than the cosmic consciousness. It's the eternal. So eternal thing. If you have gone into eternal thing and your miseries are gone, you are perfect. That is what is happening to me. Every day happening to me. Others I will not be talking to you. Others I will not be talking to you. What is my benefit talking to you? What do you get? I know that is, and I feel every day. So I say that you can also feel. That's why I'm talking. So, it is like this. You have gone to a beautiful river and you are thirsty. You do not start measuring how much water is there. You only take that much which quenches your thirst. So eternity is there. If you are satisfied in your meditation completely, your meditation is perfect. The channel gets open. Everything I have known. Everything, all these things I have known. What I am talking to you. I am not talking anything that I don't know. Inner light, inner sound, everything. Astral beings. All things will come to you, but you cannot go on talking to people that, oh, I know this, then a lot of confusion comes, So, again, another, somebody. Buddha would not say anything. If somebody asks a question like this, as you asked me, he would not say anything. He would say, you want a reply? You want the reply? You stay under the tree 1 year and you will get it. One day it happened, one fellow came and asked the same way. So Buddha says, you want really the reply or just talking? If you want the reply, you sit under the tree 1 year without talking. Then another fellow was there under a tree. He burst into laughter. And then this fellow looked at him and said, why are you laughing, brother? I came like you 1 year ago and he asked me to sit under this tree. I sat under the tree for 1 year and I have nothing to ask him again. So you will also have nothing to ask again. When we are through with our questions and answers, then I will come to the birthday ceremony song, Sanskrit song. Okay? Yes, I can do it. Then you will be there. Very nice. Many schools have given already.
Again?
I have another question.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, how did you start your journey to where you are now? I know before we came here they mentioned a sentence or two, but I was wondering if you could elaborate on how you started your journey.
Actually, you can never start a journey seriously unless you have some past karma. We believe in karma. Nothing is lost. So I knew about my karma. A lot of my past karma, past lives, visions came to me in the jungle when I spent 22 years in the jungle, and many visions came to me. But if you talk of how I started, I was very young at the time. I was maybe 18, 19 started. I just finished my school. And then somebody came to me and spoke that there is a very enlightened spiritual person. I want to make you acquainted with him. So I went to him and he talked with me and he took me to a graveyard and sat with a solitary place and comfortably, and he explained me everything, that how human being emerges from cosmic consciousness and how we evolve through many lives, millions of lives, and come to human being again, and how we are to go back again to our experience of consciousness. So these things he was explaining, and I said that how to do that. Then he taught me some technique, meditation technique. Sit upright, do this, focus here, chant mantra, this, that. So I learned that, and I started doing that very seriously, because at that time I had nothing to do because my school was over. So I started very seriously, and I started one day, I started feeling something is, I'm shivering, and something is moving in me, very powerful. So I knew that, oh, now it is Kundalini. Then the teacher also said that now I can see that you are having experience. So that experience slowly increased, and I thought that this is the right way. I thought I had many distractions before, as many young people have, but I thought, no, this is the right way, and I thought in my mind that even if it takes 10 lifetimes, I am not going to budge. I will follow it. I will keep following it. Until now I am following, but it is one lifetime yet, 10 lifetimes. 10 lifetimes yet to come, but I don't think they will come any. But if you have prepared yourself a big idea that I will have as many times as long I am not going to be too much sensitive to time, I must carry and continue it. Like you eat every day, but you never weigh yourself every day. So you never weigh yourself every day, how much big you are. If every day you'll be growing, and every month you'll be in the dose have to be changed. But you go on eating. So we go on doing with sincerity. And then finally you see, it comes. It will surely come to everybody, because it is a birthright. This is what everybody is seeking, my dear. Now or later, today or tomorrow, everybody has to seek this. But this is an extra faculty in you, and a special faculty in you, and that faculty, if neglected, as in the education of the time, it is greatly neglected, which is very bad. Education is neglecting human faculty, human element. I'm talking of outside things, many outside things, and you get and forget. You get and forget. After 2 years, you forget what you have read. But this is your thing. This is the most important thing. It transforms you, makes you a truly human being, makes you established in your morality, established in your peace. And that thing is a science.